Hey guys, Captain Dylan Hubbard here at Hubbard's Marina. Welcome to the Sunday Night Live Stream Show. Thanks for tuning in and hanging out with us, y'all. Happy Father's Day, guys. Appreciate everybody hanging out and joining us. We are ready to start the live stream show. Remember, every Sunday night at 7:30 p.m., we do these live stream shows and we give away $1,500 in free fishing trips. Plus, we talk about the weather, what's going on now, what's coming up, and more, and answer your questions live during the show. So sit back, relax, and enjoy, and hopefully you'll get a chance to win some of those free fishing trips. Remember, all you have to do in order to have a chance to win those free fishing trips is watch the entire show live on Instagram, on TikTok, on YouTube, on Trovo, on Twitch, on Facebook. Anywhere you watch is fine, but you do have to watch the entire show live. You have to comment one time on the Hubbard's Marina Facebook stream. So you do have to go to Facebook, find Hubbard's Marina, make sure you like our page and comment once on the live stream on Facebook. That's how you enter to win. Then you have to watch the entire show live, because if you happen to get picked as one of our lucky winners during our random giveaways throughout the show, you got 5 minutes or less to claim your free trip by texting the phone number on the screen. So you have to watch the entire show live, comment once on the Hubbard's Marina Facebook stream. Then if you're picked as one of the lucky winners, you got 5 minutes or less to text us at the phone number on the screen. So that's how you enter, that's how you claim it, that's how it works. Okay, guys? So sit back, relax, and enjoy. First things first, we want to give a shout out to our friends over there at Gator Jim's Tackle. Remember, 3301 Pinellas Point Drive South in St. Pete. Gator Jim's Tackle has an incredible selection, killer deals, and tons of tackle, apparel, and so much more. If you haven't stopped by to see our friends at Gator Jim's Tackle, you're missing out. An incredible selection, killer deals, stuff to the gills over there. So definitely worth stopping by, and remember, tell them Hubbard's Marina sent you. Also, want to make sure we give a shout out to all of those in our supporters group. Remember, we have that supporters group on Facebook where you get a chance to join us in that private group. That gives you access to the private after show after every live stream show, and it gives you access to the private group where you have more communication, some one-on-one stuff, plus some behind the scenes pertinent info that you get before anyone else. Definitely lets me communicate with you more frequently and more casually. So definitely check out the supporters group. It's only $4.99 a month. Also, keep in mind as well, we want to give a shout out to all those who are sending stars to help fuel the live stream show. Definitely appreciate all the star senders. So far tonight, we had Sam Lang with a big 830. We had Nick Nieves with a big 3,000 stars. Thank you, Nick. We had Stephen Batchelor with 500, LaShonda Brown, appreciate you. Jeff Reedy with a big 1,200, Larry White with 500, appreciate you, dude. Greg DeFilippo, I'm going to go with that. Sorry, Greg, if I mispronounce your name. Laura Cambron, Scott Flynn, James McCullum with the big 500, Gary Camage, John Bull, Richard Blazak, Richard Harcourt, Sean Gossier with the big 500, Adam Franklin with the big 500, and Richard Harcourt again. Appreciate all the stars and all the fuel for these live stream shows. And of course, all our supporters out there. And a big special shout out again to our friends at Gator Jim's Tackle. Remember, we were named as the #1 fishing charter in the entire country for the 4th year in a row by USA Today. So big shout out to all of those of you who are watching to help make that possible. We couldn't do it without our Hubbard's Marina family, all our captains, crew, staff, and of course, viewers like you who help support and vote for us. So super humbled, gracious, and thankful for that #1 fishing charter in the country title for the 4th year in a row. Can't believe it. Hopefully we can continue that on, because we're only 3 years away from our centennial. 100 years Hubbard's Marina almost has been fishing local waters since 1928. So super pumped. Looking forward to that big celebration. We got some cool stuff planned. Definitely gonna be fun. So stay tuned. We got cool stuff in the works and on the way. So with that, we want to make sure we tell you guys again, make sure you comment if you're watching on Facebook, YouTube, Instagram. Comment, like the stream. It helps us to reach more people. Don't forget to subscribe on YouTube. We've got a lot of content that we're pumping out on YouTube now more than ever. We even have some new partners. We partnered with some of our fishing friends, and we got some customer point of view videos coming. We've got even more camera footage from our professional teams out there too. So really, really exciting stuff happening on YouTube. Don't forget to subscribe and stay tuned over there. Some stuff on YouTube that doesn't make it to Facebook, TikTok, Instagram, that kind of thing. So make sure you check out on YouTube. Also, want to make sure that you guys like and share the stream if you're watching on Facebook. That helps us out a lot. All right, with that, let's get right into the inshore photos. We're going to show you what we're catching inshore. Then we're going to make our way nearshore and offshore. Then we're going to get into the weather a little bit. Then we'll hear from Captain Mike Anderson, hopefully. And then we're going to get into your questions. Remember, if you have questions you want answered live during the show, drop them in a text message to us at the bottom of the screen. Your comments, they go really quickly because we have so many people watching on so many different platforms. We don't get to see all the comments. So make sure you text us if you have something you want answered live or talked about during the live stream show. All right, with that, let's get right into the photos and show you guys what we're catching inshore. Inshore right now, we've been seeing quite a few of these redfish, some bigger overslot redfish moving into Tampa Bay. Capt Mike was talking about on the radio, so exciting to hear about that. But some really nice redfish moving around and staying mostly up in the back bay areas around the flats, mangrove shorelines, oyster bars. Looking for that shade, looking for that relief from the heat. Definitely seeing more action around those shaded areas, those deeper cuts. A lot of those fish trying to find a little cooler water, gets them a little bit more active for sure. Cut bait around the mangroves at high tide is a good idea. It'll bring those fish out of the trees, as Mike says, and get them to hit those cut pinfish, cut threadfish, cut thread fin around those mangrove shorelines. Is a really good idea. Snook action really heating up nicely for us along the passes and around the bay. Still catching plenty in the back bay, around the flats, oyster bars, mangrove shorelines too. But our buddy Scott is definitely doing well out there on the beach. He's been texting some really nice slob snook. So really exciting to see that action picking up and getting so thoroughly exciting this time of year. Seeing a lot of snook throughout the entire area. Some other people getting in on the beach. Snook fishing fun. I was out at Shell Key this past week, yesterday. I was out at Shell Key with the family and just sitting with the kids on the sandbar watching groups of snook swim between the sandbar and the beach. It definitely got me excited about some beach fishing. So it is good. Even around the swimmers, the snook are active out there on the beach. Some big trout as well. Look at that stud trout Scott caught this past week. And even our friend Amy got out there and got some nice ones. It is a good time to find some fish inshore. This week we have that quarter moon coming up Wednesday, so a little bit slower tides this week, but you're going to be able to find those fish in areas that are going to concentrate or choke the water, so make more water flow, or out on the beach where there's a little cooler water, a little more dissolved oxygen, and a little bit more actively feeding fish. So definitely as water temperatures continue to warm, you're looking for deep structure, shaded areas, or get out there on the beach or around the pass where there's more dissolved oxygen, a little cooler water. Working our way nearshore and offshore, we've been seeing some nice action out there. This is a nearshore 10-hour all-day mangrove snapper. Nice mangrove there, fatty on the 10-hour all day. Some nice red grouper from the 10-hour trip too. Not catching a ton of them, but we are seeing some nice red grouper in the mix with some nice mangroves, some good numbers of lanes, and plenty of other heads and tails as well. Look at these 10-hour all-day red grouper and a 10-hour all-day red snapper. We don't get a ton of red snapper during our 10-hour all-days. We don't get quite enough distance on that 10-hour all-day to find a lot of these red snapper, but it is possible. They do venture in a little shallower at times, and as you can see there, a nice one. The 12-hour extreme has been catching limits of red snapper, along with some good numbers of these red grouper, which is always exciting to see. Some good red grouper, scamp grouper, some good mangrove snapper on the extreme trips as well. As you can see, the red snapper bite has been solid, and really seeing some nice red snapper out there in the deep water. Remember to target the red snapper. You want to think about a 12-hour extreme, 39-hour, 44-hour long-range private fishing charter. Those are your best bets to get these big stud red snapper. You might see a red snapper on the 12-hour night trip. Maybe not really on a 10-hour. I would say no red snapper on a 10-hour. It does happen, but I wouldn't even count on it. It's once in a blue moon. So really, if you want red snapper, 12-hour extreme, 39-hour, 44-hour, or long-range private fishing charter. 12-hour night trips sometimes, but we don't really target them because they don't really bite super well at night. It's more of a daytime bite, ironically. They get a little bit more active during the day and school up and get a little more concentrated and aggressive too. Seeing some nice scamp grouper in the mix out there on those 12-hour extremes, 39 hours, 44 hours. Really, really good eating fish there, scamp grouper. Awesome to see. As you can see, the fishing is going well for us out there in the deep water, and it's been going well really since red snapper season started. This past week, we've been dealing with a lot of current in deep water. The 12-hour extreme, even the 10-hour is dealing with current. Really, from about 100 foot of water all the way out past 200 foot of water, the current has been horrendous around that full moon. We're getting further from that full moon. Like I said, Wednesday, we've got that quarter moon coming around. So I'm hoping as we get closer to that quarter moon, this current will back off a little bit for us. One positive thing with the current is that it's been bringing us a lot of clean, clear, deep blue water, a lot of bait, and a lot of pelagic action. We've also seen a lot more grass around too, so pelagic action has been good. We've been seeing some chicken dolphin, we've been seeing some blackfin tuna, we've been seeing a couple of those wahoo. So pelagic action is better when we have these really, really, really good currents going around for sure. All right, with that, we've covered what we've been catching now. We talked a little bit about what's going on now. Let's get into the weather and show you guys what's going on weather-wise. We're going to pop over to hubbardsmarina.com. We're going to hit fishing trips. Then we're going to scroll down, second one down to weather links. We're going to start in the 5 and 10 hour forecast area on our wind finder forecast. And as you can see here, looking pretty nice all the way through the forecast period. Changed a little bit the last couple days. Friday, Saturday, Sunday coming up. Next weekend essentially was showing a little bit of a moderate spike in the weather. This morning it calmed down a little bit, and this afternoon it's calmed down even more. So the weather for next weekend, the predictions are getting better and better and better, which is a nice trend to see. But this morning we were seeing some storms possible, some pretty hefty rain chances Friday, Saturday, and Sunday next weekend. But as you can see here, it's looking like that's really, really died down. So that's cool to see. As you can tell throughout the entire period, basically 10 to 15 mile an hour or less. That should bring us, less than 2 foot seas all the way through the forecast period. So 1.5 foot basically is as rough as it gets the next 10 days on this inshore forecast, which is good news. Like I said, it's even calmer than it was forecasting this morning. Let's pop offshore and look how the offshore forecast looks. Pretty much the same, 10 to 15 mile an hour. I would assume it's going to get a little more than 1 to 2 foot. All right, so we see 2.3 foot Wednesday. So Wednesday looks a little moderate, but not bad. All the other days are 2 foot or less until we get into Monday, Tuesday next week, but that's really far away, and it's still only about 2.5 foot. So nothing crazy, but potentially post-weekend we might see some moderate conditions, but nothing crazy in the forecast, which is cool to see. We've had a really good run, so let's knock on some wood, keep our fingers and toes crossed, and say a prayer. This continues. We always like nice forecasts. We're going to pop over to our ultimate storm forecast, Mike's weather page, spaghettimodels.com. I live and die by this page all year round, but I use it more frequently this time of year. I always like to look at Mike's links. He's got a lot of helpful websites that link through his website. One of the ones I use is up here in the top left corner. These different forecast model links take you to tropical tidbits. Let's see if it'll work for us. There it goes. I always like going up here to forecast models and then change the region to Western Atlantic. And I don't like this look where is supposed to be able to change it on the right side. Why doesn't it? It looks different for me. Oh, there it goes. I got it. It was zoomed in. Thank you, Josh. There it is. That's what I want. Oh, so you zoomed it in and it changed the button layout. Got me. All right, so as we advance through this week, you can see not a lot of moisture moving around. You're seeing most of the action, most of the tropical action staying on the west side of Central America. This has kind of been the trend the last couple weeks. We got a lot of Saharan dust and a really cool Caribbean and Gulf. The sea surface temperatures are much cooler in the Western Atlantic and Gulf than they were last year at this time. I'm talking like 15 degrees cooler. So that is positive news. The Saharan dust has also been positive news, really trampling down any tropical formations in our area. And this is what I was talking about. Here's Saturday. You can see some of these storms populating on Florida. It's kind of hard to see in the video. You probably can't see it at home, but definitely Saturday has some chances for storms, but forecast right now looks a lot better than it did today, this morning. It was showing some pretty hefty stuff Saturday, but looks pretty decent over the weekend. That's why the weather picks up Monday. They're showing a little bit of that storm action. It must have just delayed a little bit Monday, Tuesday, but not terrible. Really looking good all the way through the forecast period here for our area. So that's important to keep an eye on. Tropical weather and potential tropical development. But like I said, right now, a lot of the trends are keeping that stuff to the west side of Central America and really kind of more like the northeast Atlantic. Kind of a strange pattern that's going on, but hey, hopefully that hangs out because I like this. We got this nice little break in our area and haven't really seen anything to note as of late. So again, fingers, toes crossed, knock on wood, and say a prayer that that continues for us. Want to make sure we remind you guys, again, we launched a new online store, shop.hubbardsmarina.com. Again, you can get there from our website. If you're on hubbardsmarina.com, you can click shop, and it will take you to our new online store, but it's shop.hubbardsmarina.com. So check it out. Got a lot of cool stuff in here and a lot of interesting new apparel for you to check out. Some great hats, some great tackle, some great shirts. So definitely check out the online store if you have not already. It's really, really, really cool. So that covers the weather, what we've been catching now, and want to make sure we also cover a few announcements and reminders. One big reminder, don't forget, Tuesday, June 24th, not this Tuesday, but next Tuesday, we've got a live, in-person event. If you want to come hang out with me and Capt Mike Anderson, we're going to be over there at OCC Roadhouse in off of 49th Street, just south of Ulmerton. It's kind of central Pinellas. It's not far from Tampa. It's really centrally located in Pinellas County. It's easy to get to. We're going to be giving away Bull Bay rods, Engel coolers, real animals, and Hubbard's Marina swag. They have great food, killer drinks. It's a good time. Again, that is coming Tuesday, June 24th from 7 to 9 p.m. So hopefully you can join us again Tuesday, June 24th. And every fourth Tuesday of the month is that OCC event. So hopefully we'll see you again. OCC is Orange County Choppers Roadhouse. over there on 49th Street, just south of Ulmerton. Besides that, remember, red snapper season is in full swing. We've got red snapper going on from June 1st all the way till end of day September 15th. I keep doing that. June 1st through September 15th is red snapper season for us at Hubbard's Marina. So you've got essentially 3 entire months left to get your red snapper on. And we also have gag season, probably going to be 14 to 20 days. Should be finalized, I would imagine. I think we're going to get an email this week to finalize our red snap or our gag grouper season. They said 14 to 20 days. I think it's going to be closer to 14, if not exactly 14. There's a chance that we might still keep the 2 fish per person. The council did ask to go to 1 fish per person, but I'm thinking they're probably going to keep it 2 fish per person because the National Marine Fisheries Service, NOAA Fisheries, the Southeast Regional Office leadership has made it clear that there's a pretty good chance they're not going to get that rule in place in time. So if that happens, that means 2 fish per person, 14 to 20 days for gags starting September 1st. Remember, triggerfish are open all year except January and February and June and July. So no triggerfish right now. Amberjack is supposed to be open September and October, but there's a good chance we won't see any amberjack season this year because last year they claim we overfished the quota by, 250%. I think there's some math that doesn't make sense there. They potentially might adjust that a little bit, but I still think there's going to be a pretty significant overage, even if they really adjust that number down. So probably not going to see very much, if any, amberjack season. So that's kind of what we're expecting. Year-round red grouper, triggerfish open all year except for January, February, June, and July. 14 to 20 days on gags, maybe no amberjacks. Everything else is open year-round. But 2026, remember, we talked last week that shallow water grouper thing's going to happen, so there's going to be a scamp season in 2026, open July 1st through the end of the year. So pretty interesting there, but not that cool. Interesting, but not good. Again, that was a special YouTube video we put out a few days ago. If you're subscribed on YouTube, you would have seen that. So don't forget to subscribe. All right, I digress. I think that was all the announcements I had for you guys. Let's do our first giveaway of the night, and then we're going to get into your questions. So first giveaway of the night, let's go ahead and do a 10-hour all-day trip. 10-hour all-day trip for one lucky winner, 2 guests. 10-hour all-day trip goes to, lucky winner is Colleen Mahoney. Congratulations, Colleen. You've got 5 minutes or less to text us your full home address. Are you related to Mike Mahoney? Because if you are, I feel like that's a conflict of interest. I'm just kidding. But seriously, are you related to him? I'm interested. Because I feel like that's not that common of a last name. And he has a big family. Huge family. And hopefully Mike Mahoney will be at our Tuesday, June 24th OCC event. He claims he would be. So we'll see if that holds true. All right. That was our first giveaway. Let's get into some questions. First one is, what kind and what size circle hooks do you suggest for red snapper with pinfish or cutbait? Red snapper will bite just about anything. Remember, literally the dumbest fish in the Gulf. I say that in jest. They're very aggressive. So recently on the supporters group, we were making fun of red snapper. This guy has a video fishing. I think he was out of like northern Gulf somewhere, Alabama, Louisiana. But homeboy takes a yellow rag, cuts a strip off, puts it on a hook, drops it to bottom, and I think he jigged it once or twice, catches a red snapper on a piece of rag. So literally anything you put on your hook, any size hook, you're going to hook a red snapper. But You want to catch a big red snapper? Selectivity matters. So I always suggest to people when they ask me about what size hook, what bait for red snapper, forget all that. Focus on trying to catch a big red snapper. You want to catch a big red snapper, that means a big bait. The bigger the bait, the bigger the hook. So you match your hook size to bait. So if you're using a 10-inch piece of bait, you want to make sure you're using a pretty good size hook, like a 10, 12-aught hook. If you're using a small little thread fin chunk, you'd use a smaller hook, 6-aught, 7-aught hook. Red snapper have a pretty big, strong mouth, so you can get away with bigger hooks. And also, if you're trying to catch a big dog, you're using a bigger bait, and you want that barb exposed. Remember, you got a big chunk of bait, you want a big enough hook to where that barb's going to be exposed. You don't want your hook barb, the tip of your hook, buried in the bait. So you want a big enough hook that barb of the hook is going to come out the other side of the bait. For pinfish, average size pinfish, a 6, 7, 8-aught hook works. For big pinfish, 8, 10, 12-aught hook, or 8 to 10-aught hook would be a good idea. For really big baits, you want to use that 10, 12-aught hook. But again, we've been seeing a lot of good action on big red snapper with bonita strips, Boston mackerel strips or chunks, or even plugs. You can use cut gray snapper or even small live gray snapper, meaning white grunts. We've seen a lot of goggle eyes being used lately. Whole octopus. We have baby octopus in the shop that work really well. Whole squid. What's interesting as of late is that unique bait, right? Captain Will was talking about it in this morning's live video after that 39-hour trip offloaded this morning, is sometimes that unique bait, right? And we've talked about this in previous live shows. Think about the big, aggressive, apex big dog, right? He's the king cheese on the block, right? If he's sitting back watching all these baits come to the bottom, all these lines come to the bottom, and you've got 10 thread fins in a row, cut, chunks, double snell rig, you're doing it right. It looks good. Those are appetizing. You see a couple of them go past you. All right, maybe I'm going to eat one of those. But then you see a huge 10-inch bonita strip go by you, streaming a bunch of oil and scent out of it. Big dog's going to go for that. Then he sees a nice big old whole octopus go by. Oh, then he starts looking over there, you know. So something that catches their eye, something bigger, something unique, sometimes is what it takes. Stands out a little bit, stands out from the crowd, a little shiny. That's what that bigger fish, more aggressive fish, and remember, red snapper are super aggressive, is going to go after. So if everybody around you is using this type of bait, if everybody on the boat's using bonita strips, you'd want to drop a Boston mackerel. If everybody around you is using octopus, you might want to drop a thread fin. So sometimes standing out from the crowd can work to help get that a more aggressive, bigger fish that's hanging out. Yes, it was a 44-hour. Thank you. I'm really bad about that. We only run 44-hour trips once a month, and I just get used to saying 39-hour trips nonstop and forget that, hey, that was a 44-hour. So, yeah, the 44-hour came in this morning, and that's when Will was talking about that. But it was interesting that he brought it up, and it does hold true, and it's kind of a little bit of a secret. Everybody's dropping down dead baits. The bite slows down a little bit. That's when I drop down that slow pitch jig, and works really, really well. Sometimes standing out works, and that slow pitch jig, that shiny big piece of metal when everybody else is using bait might get you the big dog. You never know. All right, next question. Being how it's changed throughout the years, how is it determined how long a trip has to be to have a 2-day bag limit? Good question. Federal law. So, story time. I told this story a little while back on the live show, so I don't want to go into it too much. But essentially, I was making noise about illegal charters, and then NOAA law enforcement started looking at Hubbard's Marina saying that we were an illegal charter because of some technicality back in 1996, regulation consolidation. So they kind of started leaning on us a little bit. So what we did was, through networking and hard work, we got federal law changed, and we protected that 2-day bag limit in the Gulf of Mexico, but we had to go to a 30-hour minimum. So in order to keep a 2-day bag limit, you have to be on a federal for-hire vessel, charter boat, party boat. Private boat can never do it. Has to be a federally permitted for-hire vessel. Has to be a charter, paid for charter. If I took a bunch of you guys out for free, we're all friends fishing on the boat like we do for our supporters group trips, we couldn't do a 2-day bag limit. It has to be a paid charter. So federally permitted for-hire vessel has to be a paid charter. Trip length has to be greater than 30 hours. You have to have a receipt on board proving the length of the trip. You have to have 2 captains, 2 licensed captains. You have to have sleeping berths for those captains. And then trip has to be greater than 30 hours. I think I already said that. But those are the tenets to make it a 2-day bag limit. So trip has to be greater than 30 hours, essentially. Good question. Can you explain the relationship between wave height and wave period? So good question, and I will bring up our website here. We're going to pop over to hubbardsmarina.com, click fishing trips, click weather links, and we're going to go back to the wind finder forecast. And you can see here, let's see if I can zoom in. Josh had to step out for a second. I can zoom in. Look at that. I can do it all by myself. I'm so proud. So it's changing the words. Can you guys see that? You can't really see it. So underneath the little directional symbol right here is wave height and then wave period, which is an S. So S stands for period. So I'm going to zoom it back in so you can see more easily. Oh, this is better. All right, so right here above my head, you can see 1.3 foot. That is the wave height. Then below that is 5 seconds. That is the wave period. So in the Gulf of Mexico, generally when it gets rough, it gets nasty, the wave period is going to match the wave height. That means you've got stacked up waves, they get choppy, and it gets nasty. It's sloppy, white caps, not fun. Generally 15 miles an hour or more on wind will do that. Now, if wave period is greater than wave height by basically anything more than 1.5 to 2, it's really flat, calm, and gorgeous. So in this case, wave height of 1.3 foot with a 5-second period is gorgeous. Really not much wave action at all. There's some swells, but it's not choppy at all. It could even be 8 foot. For example, back in the day, I went to Costa Rica sail fishing with Capt. Mike Anderson for the Real Animals fishing show. We were filming a fishing show down there, and we were in a 33-foot panga, which is a very small center console. We were in 18-foot seas in a 33-foot boat. But wave period was like 38 seconds. So it was more than double the wave height. So essentially you ride up a hill and then you come back down a hill. Very slow, huge swells. And we were going 35 miles an hour in a small boat because it was super calm, really, but it was swelly. So the boat was moving, but it was just moving really slow. In the Gulf, we don't see wave periods like that ever. That was the Pacific. So the Pacific goes those crazy wave periods. So does the Atlantic. But in the Gulf, it's too shallow, too small. We don't get crazy wave periods like that. What we do get sometimes is we'll get double the wave height. So if it's 2 foot, sometimes you'll see 4 or 5 second wave periods, which means it's nice. And it's not really bad. Behind a hurricane, sometimes you'll see crazy stuff like it'll be 6 foot with a 10-second period or 11-second period. And that's just pretty much calm, even though it's 6 foot. But fishing's kind of nasty because the water's all stirred up behind a cold front, or a hurricane. Sometimes you'll see that behind really big cold fronts too. But wind speed is what picks up the waves. But wind speed takes a while. It could be blowing 20 and it's still calm out because it takes a while for that wind to build that wave. And it also depends on the direction of the wind. In central West Florida, if we have an east wind moving across the state of Florida, as long as you stay near the coast, it could be blowing 20 or 25. If you're within 10 miles of the coast, it really doesn't get that rough. But the further west you go, that east wind goes across more water and exponentially makes that sea height bigger and more rough. So hopefully that explained or answered your question a little bit. Are there spots at South Johns Pass to fish around the rocks without getting ran off? Yes. Google Maps me, sir, if you don't mind, Josh. So, Johns Pass Bridge, if you're fishing from shore, it is, open up the thing here. Let's go to satellite view. So, if you're fishing from shore at Johns Pass, everybody loves to fish out here. Don't get it. Makes no sense. Don't fish out here. If you go to Johns Pass to fish, please don't fish out here. It's silly. The best thing you're going to catch is a big catfish. Unless you're casting underneath the dock over here, you might get some snapper, some mangrove snapper. But you're not going to catch anything decent over here because it's so shallow. That sand sucks. Over here, catfish city. Underneath the bridge, sometimes you can, during the day, you can get some flounder. But for the most part, it's not that great either. At night, underneath the bridge, trout, redfish, snook for sure because of bridge lights, dock lights. Also over here, once you start getting into the rocks, this deeper water, the current starts moving more. So during the day, sometimes some pompano. Most of the time, pompano's out here towards the tip. But sometimes you can get some redfish, some snook during the day, but really early morning, right around sunrise is the best time to be out here. When it's dark out here is not great because there's no light, so there's not really fish actively feeding. They're just kind of moving past here. But once the sun starts coming up for the first couple hours of the day, this area is hot. During the day, out here is where you want to be on the beach, fishing on the beach between these sandbars for trout, maybe some flounder and snook. The south side of Johns Pass, there is a ton of rocks. And the rocks are really good for mangrove snapper. This is the best mangrove snapper fishing in the pass right here along these rocks. What people will do is they'll come over here and you can park in this lot. You can park along the street here, I think, too. They change the parking over there a lot, and I don't know how it works right now, so don't quote me on that. But you can get under here. I think they might have some of this blocked off for construction, but you used to be able to kind of walk along the bridge and fish down over here on these rocks, underneath the bridge on the rocks too, and it's really good fishing. There's some kids that actually fish from this sidewalk out here in this little area, and they catch big mangroves, but you're really high off the water, so it's tough, but they do it with great success. They even catch cobia out there sometimes too. You can go to Treasure Island, and you can park along the street here. You got to get there real early, but there's some parking over here, and you can walk onto this jetty, and you can walk down and fish these rocks by walking in from the beach. That's probably the safest route if you're worried about getting run off. But this area over here is pretty darn good. Not a lot of people fish over here because it's harder to get to. So less people and less lines in the water, but definitely some good fishing around the rocks for sure. If you're land-based fishing, good areas. All right, what other questions do we have? Someone said, what was that? Something about Canadian travel. It said something about the media is saying Canadian travel is down 70%. Are you noticing fewer Canadians on the boats? No, I would say Canadian travel is pretty solid. All our Canadian friends have visited us for sure. So I haven't noticed any change specifically, and I sit on our tourist development council for our entire county, and we haven't seen a drop off in tourism visitation at all. There's talk of it, and everybody keeps talking about it, but I haven't seen it for sure. Let's see. Are you guys catching any sharks? Yeah, a ton of sharks. Shark fishing is good along the beaches. The shark trip's been doing really well out there on our 5-hour shark trip. And we hook sharks incidentally on our trips as well. But along the beach and pass, you can definitely catch some sharks with some big dead cut bait. Need help finding a hotel close to your boat? It's a 2+ hour drive for me. A lot of people ask this, and I don't know if you don't know this already, but if you go to hubbardsmarina.com on our website, we have a where to. We have a where to eat, where to party, where to play, where to stay, and catch and cook. We've got where to catch and cook your fish, where to stay, so you can click here, where to stay. It's got a whole list of hotels. Also, what I always tell people is if you don't find a hotel on here you like, John's Pass Hotel, the parking garage has a hotel. So you could literally crawl from your hotel room to our front door in a minute or less if you stay at the John's Pass Hotel. But also what you can do is go to, I didn't switch the screen. I just talked about all that and didn't show them. Gotcha. If you go to our website, there is a where to stay tab. I just scrolled through it, but you missed it. So check it out. Also, what I always tell people too is you can go to hotels.com and they have a search feature where you can click a landmark. So you can put in a landmark, John's Pass, and then you could say, I want to stay within 4 miles and I want to stay at the hotel $200 or less, and it will give you the hotels based on your budget. So hotels.com is a super helpful feature. Their search feature is crazy to sort out hotel offers. Coming down for a 44-hour in July. I have my own gear. Do I need heavier weights for full moon trip? It's always a good idea fishing around a full or new moon to be prepared with bigger weights. Like I said, this past full moon, current was horrendous. We don't normally see super bad currents, but it's been pretty bad for a little while. It should be calming down, and we're hoping for that, but it's always a good idea fishing around a new moon or full moon in deep water. We generally use mainly 6 and 8 ounce weights, but having a few 10 ounce, maybe a 10 ounce or 12 ounce weight is a good idea, especially if you're fishing around that new or full moon. So yes, I would bring mostly 6 and 8 ounce weights because that's what we use most of the time. But it's always a good idea to potentially have at least 1 or 2 of those bigger weights in the 10, 12 ounce range, just in case. Jason Richmond, appreciate those 300 stars, buddy. Scott Connolly, appreciate you. Timothy McCardle, Gary Pennington, Richard Harcourt, appreciate all the stars, y'all. All right. With that, I think it's time for our next giveaway. We did our 10-hour all-day giveaway. Let's do our 5-hour half-day giveaway. That is a 5-hour half-day for 1 lucky winner, 2 guests on a 5-hour half-day. Winner is... Matt Weingartner. Weingartner. Yeah, Weingartner. Having problems with pronunciation tonight. But congratulations, Matt. You got 5 minutes or less to claim your free 5-hour half day for 2 guests by texting the phone number on the screen. All right. With that, let's get back into these questions. On your double snell rig, do you also use smaller circle hooks? No. Generally, depends on what trip I'm on. 10-hour trip, if I'm doing a double snell, might be 4/0 circle hooks. 39-hour trip, it'd be at least 6/0 circle hooks at night for mangroves, maybe 7/8 circle hooks during the day for bigger fish. 12-hour night trip, probably 5/0 circle hooks. 12-hour extreme, same as 39. 44-hour, same as 39. So depends on the trip, but no, generally using the same size I would if I was single hooking it. But most of the time, actually all the time, if I'm using dead bait, doing that double snell rig, most of the time with cut thread fin, if I'm doing live bait, single hook rig. I must not be that smart because I struggled catching red snapper last year. Most of the time, struggling catching red snappers because you're overthinking it a little bit too much. Big bait, big hook, dropping it down to bottom slowly. You'll drop it down till you can't see the bait anymore and slow it down, and you'll start to feel little nibbles. Stop. A lot of times you'll get that big bite right at the top of the water column. If you wait a minute or two, you don't get a real big bite, drop it slowly down to the bottom. If you don't get slammed on the way to bottom, by the time you reach bottom, you should get the big fish. You can just fish thread fins the whole trip and you'll probably get your red snapper. They won't be real big. But if you get too carried away, you're switching around a lot, that's when sometimes you can get a little bit gun shy. And then once you have a problem with it, you overthink it, and you could struggle a little bit. But for the most part, if you stay consistent, drop that big dead cut bait, you're going to get your 4 red snapper on a 39-hour or 2 red snapper on a 12-hour extreme, no problem. Any big plans for a celebration for the 4 Pete best charter in the country win? We're celebrating right now, brother. We're here, live stream show, Father's Day, having a good time celebrating with you guys. That's a good question. Nothing specific planned, except for our awesome events every Sunday night. OCC Roadhouse, June 24th. We're going to celebrate there too. You could bring cake if you want. We could celebrate. Does your 39 or 44-hour trip ever fish over wrecks? Yeah, we do quite a bit. 44-hour trip started at a wreck this last trip, and it sucked. Wrecks, there's not a lot of wrecks anymore that are secret, right? Garmin release shading, strike lines charts, Seymour maps, so many things have really kind of given away a lot of the secrets, plus just how many people are out there stealing spots with the radars. There's not a lot of secrets left as far as spots are concerned. And wrecks, a lot of time, attract people. So once they find a wreck, they got to fish that wreck. Natural bottom, a lot of times, will hold more fish. They'll spread out more. They'll stay on that area. Wrecks can concentrate certain types of fish. African pompano, amberjack, Goliath grouper, sharks. We see some big red snapper on some of those deep water wrecks too. And we have some wrecks that are still secret. But for the most part, wrecks are a little bit overrated just because of the amount of pressure they get. But we do hit them occasionally, especially if we're in an area we know a wreck's nearby. We'll check it out. There's a few wrecks that we kind of hit every now and again just to check them out that are pretty consistent. But we don't fish wrecks a majority of any of our trips, but we might stop on one here or there throughout different trips. Even 10-hour trips stop at wrecks sometimes. Should I use cross cuts of bonita or filleted strips? What I do with bonita is I cut the head, or I fillet it, and then I'll cut the head off the body. I'll throw the carcass away, like the backbone and the tail, throw that away. Not much use for it. Use the head for bait. Just the head is a really good piece of bait sometimes. If it's a small bonita, not if it's a big bonita. But really the primo bait on a bonita is the fillet. And you cut from the head side, that fat side of the fillet, down the length of the fillet. The skin is really hard to cut through. If you put the skin side up and cut that way, your knife has to be really sharp or you'll squish the meat. Most of the time you have to put the meat side up with the skin side down and fillet and strip it that way at the length of the fish. Basically, if the fish was still there along the backbone, from the head side to the tail side. But if you do meat side up, it's really hard to cut through the skin, so it makes it a little challenging. You could slice it all up and then kind of hold it up and stick your knife through and cut it like that. But it's easier with a super sharp knife skin side up. But if you go to do that, if your knife's dull, you'll squish the meat, and then it doesn't stay together as well. But generally, to answer your question, you don't cross cut it. You'll cut from the head side back after you fillet it. You can on a small bonita, real small bonita, like a 10, 12, 14-inch bonita. You could even butterfly it, take the backbone out, use the whole thing. Super big bait for gags. Good idea. Let's see, what other questions do we have? Thanks for doing the show on Father's Day. No problem, man. My pleasure. Want to hang out with you guys. Do you give away trips at the OCC Roadhouse event? We have not yet. I've thought about that, but no, we give away Bull Bay rods, which is more expensive than some of our trips, and we give away an Engel cooler, which is like a $300 cooler, and we give away hats and Real Animal swag, Hubbard's Marina swag. So we give away a lot of stuff at OCC Roadhouse. We have not given away any trips yet, but potential. Come see us June 24th and find out. Do you still recommend lighter tackle when the bite is tough? Yeah, always. I mean, when the bite's tough, you got to do something different. Doing the same thing and expecting different results is the definition of insanity. So if the bite slows down, captain's doing something, mates are packing fish, we're not moving right away, doing something different, dropping a slow pitch jig, using a big bait, dropping a live bait, dropping a lighter tackle, maybe a live shrimp, lightening up on the tackle. Captain Steve Pappin was on our radio show yesterday morning. If you caught it, you heard this story. If you didn't, we'll go through it quickly. You can always re-watch it on our Facebook page from yesterday morning if you want the whole thing. But he was talking about how he had a wahoo swim up to the back of the boat, and he's trying to get this wahoo to eat. First thing he throws at it, standard practice, would be a wire stinger rig. 2 hooks on a wire setup. Fish didn't eat. Wahoo looked at it, turned away. He cut one of the hooks off. So now it's a shorter wire rig, a little bit more stealthy. Fish didn't eat it. He cut the wire rig off, started using just single strand. Fish didn't eat it. Cut that off. Started using 80-pound test with a long shank hook. Didn't eat that. Cut it off. Tried 60-pound test. Didn't eat that. Cut it off. Used 40-pound test. So continue to drop down in tackle size until you get the bite. Same thing if you're on the beach looking at the snook swimming by you. If you cast 40-pound leader at them and they don't bite, try 20-pound. They'll eventually bite. You might not land the fish, but they'll eventually bite. Same thing at the dock in the morning. You see the snook around the dock. You want to use 60-pound tests because you're around dock pilings. But if they don't bite, you got to go down to 40-pound tests. If they don't bite, you got to go down to 20-pound tests. You're going to hook that fish. It might break you off in the rock or in the pilings, but at least you got them to bite. So it's always a good idea to continue to drop down until you start to get the action or move areas. And that's generally what we're doing. But if we're moving areas and the bite stays slow, maybe the tide's off, moon is falling on something's happened, water's dirty, whatever reason is making the fish bite slow, you got to start trying other things. And generally lightening up your tackle, lightening up your lead is going to help. Different baits stand out from the crowd, that kind of thing. I will be on the 39-hour trip next Sunday. I'm planning to fish 30-pound line for mangrove snapper. Don't. 30-pound is super light for a 39-hour trip. I normally fish for mangroves at night with at least 40-pound, most of the time 50-pound, because if the bite's good, you're catching some big mangroves sometimes, some 8-9 pound mangroves, and you want some heavier leader. And if the bite's really good, you're catching a lot of fish, and those mangrove snapper, they got some teeth on them. You're going to start to get frayed leader, and you don't want to break off. So I always start like around 50-pound, and that way, if you get a little fray, you can keep fishing a little longer. If you're using 40-pound tests and you get a little fray, you got to cut that off and retie. During gag grouper season, when gags are open, back when gag grouper season used to be 6 months, I would never use less than 60-pound test at night for mangroves, because there's a good chance you're going to hook that gag. If you hook that gag, you gotta have a chance. So 60-pound test is a good idea. But if the bite was slow, then you start dropping down until you get that action, right? But it's always a good idea to start a little heavier, and then if you need to, back it down to match it up and try to get that action going. All right, next question. Can a single person book a 12-hour extreme Yeah, you could definitely book a 12-hour extreme. Um, oh, the second half of the question is, can you use a birthday discount? No, unfortunately, the birthday discount is a free trip for you on your actual birthday if you bring someone with you who's paying full price. So you got a buddy. Even if you don't have a buddy, make a buddy and bring them out fishing. They pay the normal rate, and you get a free trip on your actual birthday up to a 10-hour trip. You could do a 12-hour extreme or 39-hour trip on your actual birthday with a friend who's paying full price, but you would only get up to that 10-hour cost. A 10 hour is like $140 basically. It's $139. So if you go on a 12-hour extreme, that's $399. You'll get $140 off on your birthday if you brought a friend who's fishing with you. What is your opinion of Gomexis reels? Don't have one personally. I've never used them heavily. I have dropped one down and hooked a fish before on a slow pitch jigging trip. It was decent. They're really good priced. So you can't beat that. There was a second half of that question that I missed. So you can't beat the price, and it works well for that. But they aren't as smooth, right? They are an entry, more well-priced reel, value-priced reel. So what you're losing on a reel, the higher the price, the finer the drag, the smoother the drag. So if you get a smoother drag, it's going to cost more money because it's higher quality drag materials. So like on a Saltiga, on a Shimano Talica, on these high-end reels, the drag systems are crazy and super smooth. And that's what makes the reel expensive. And if reel's really smooth, it feels good in your hand. That's what makes them more expensive. Some of these other reels, there's some decent reels for much lower price, but they're not going to be as smooth. They're not going to have as smooth of a drag. But they work really well. And if you're balling on a budget, Gomexis makes some really good priced reels for sure. How do you deal with barotrauma on your charters? Barotrauma is when you reel a fish up from the bottom, has gas expansion, the swim bladder or stomach comes out of the mouth, the eyes will bulge, the scales will pick up. That is barotrauma, and how we deal with it is generally venting. Venting the fish works really well. If you get them up quick, vent them quickly, get them back in the water quickly, they do really well. But if you get a really big fish that takes a long time to get up, you want to take a couple pictures with it once you get it on deck. Descending device really is your best bet. On fish, we really want to make sure they live, like big gag grouper we catch out of season. We use descending devices. Sometimes if they're really big, you have to vent them and then also descend them because they're just so big, like Goliath grouper. A lot of times we have to vent those before we descend them just because it's not enough weight to send them down on a descending device unless you got a lot of weight, which is crazy. So generally venting, but also descending. Descending's easiest. It's a little better for the fish because you don't have to poke a hole in it, but we can't descend every fish because of the volume of fish we catch. But descend or venting is really quick. So the shorter amount of time that fish is at the surface, the better survival rate. So if you have to vent the fish because there's a bunch of fish on deck, you want to get them all back in the water quickly, venting is best. But if you are descending each fish, that's great, but you just have to catch the fish and descend it immediately. So sometimes venting is required because the volume, the catch rate is high. If the catch rate is lower, or if you want to just catch a fish and descend a fish, then descending is best. How's the mangrove bite on the night trips right now? It's been really good overall this year. This last 12-hour night trip was a little bit of a tougher bite. Had a little bit of tougher weather, which made the bite a little bit tougher. The current has been really bad, like I said, so we've been struggling with that a little bit. Did get some nice ones, but not crazy. So the last 12-hour night trip was a little bit tough due to weather. Don't you give out free venting tools? Yeah. Basically, on a 39 or 44-hour trip, you need your own venting tool, at least one per group. And what I always say is you can buy a nice one in our office, because we have a couple different venting tools in our office. We have a really nice one from Angler Co. Got a little cheaper one from Your Pro. Or you can bring your own, or we'll give you one on the dock, which is a modified fish stringer tip. You can use that. We'll show you how to do it. So bring your own venting tool, buy one in the shop that's a little nicer, or we'll give you one on the dock and show you how to use it. On a 12-hour extreme, you don't really need a venting tool as much because the crew and captain is going to be there to help you. And then on a 10-hour, you don't need a venting tool. What are the advantages of brining baits? On our 39 and 44-hour trips lately, and most of the spring and summer, we catch fresh dead bait in a barrel, and it's already brined. So you don't have to brine your bait because we'll brine it for you. But brining baits on those longer trips makes the bait stiffer, more rigidity to the bait. It also locks in the moisture, so it makes them a little oilier. And juicier when the fish bites into them. So brining baits gives you more rigidity, a little bit more juice, and really kind of marinates the bait in its own juice. So it works really well. But it's got to be a longer trip. 10-hour trips don't really make sense to brine your bait. Are rental rods spooled with monofilament line? Yes, 100%. Dear God, I can't imagine giving out rental reels with braided line. I would probably have all my crew quit on me for sure. Plus, no, I'm not even going to get into it. Yes, of course, monofilament line. Really, you don't need braided line. On any of our trips, we're fishing less than 250 foot. You do not need braid. If you're fishing for big fish especially, you don't need braid. If you're dropping down a big bait, braid can hurt you, because you're going to catch a big fish, and that big fish is going to fight hard. That braid does not have any stretch. It's going to beat your behind, and that fish is going to be able to pull harder because there's not a lot of stretch. There's no shock absorber. You have to have a long top shot, or if you don't, that fish is going to be able to tear a hole in the side of his mouth, and he's going to spit your hook. So you want to make sure you have some monofilament top shot. Whenever I'm dropping down big baits on my big reels, no braid. Always straight mono. But my smaller reels, my super small compact jigging reels, my super small mangrove reels, I fish braid for a little bit added sensitivity. But it makes it much more complicated, because then you have to have a top shot. You got to tie a new top shot if you break off. If you get tangled up, you got to cut your whole entire line. It's annoying. Braided line is advanced angler only because it is a lot harder to do. It's a lot harder to maintain. It's a lot harder to tie. It's going to take up more of your time, and it's going to take away more of your fishing time. So monofilament is the go-to until you're in the super advanced class. All right, next question. Return 'em Right does not give you free stuff right now. They shut that program down for a minute because of funding issues. Should start back up soon, but right now the Return 'em Right program is shut down. You can still go there to learn cool stuff, returnemright.org. The class is still there. You can take the class, but they don't send you free stuff anymore. At least right now. Hopefully soon. Next question.
No moss.
What?
No moss.
No moss? Dang. Right on time? Nailed it? All right. That is why we use Top Shot. Yes, 100%. Top Shot is the way to go. It's the truth. Reminder, June 24th. Don't forget. June 24th, 7 to 9 p.m., OCC Roadhouse. We'll see you there, Roadhouse. July 1st, Tuesday, July 1st, we're going to be at Finn's Fishing Club in Apollo Beach. I don't remember what time. I'm going to have to look that up. I have it in my calendar for 4 o'clock because I know it takes me forever to drive there because it's on the South Shore in Apollo Beach. I have to fight the traffic, but I forget what time their fishing club meets. But it's Finn's Fishing Club, Tuesday, July 1st. I'm going to be down there speaking. So June 24th, OCC Roadhouse event. July 1st, Finn's Fishing Club. And then the next OCC Roadhouse event would be July 22nd. So lots of in-person events coming up. Hopefully we'll see you out in the water for some fishing, for some dolphin cruises. Remember, we do eco tours, we do island trips, we do shelling trips, we do sunset cruises with free beer and wine. We have private charters, we do island ferry trips, we do it all. Plus, we have the seafood market at Don's Dock. If you're too busy to go fishing, you can always come down and get your own fresh seafood there. We got oysters, clams, we got lobster, we got a lot of different seafood assortments down there at Don's Dock Seafood Market. So definitely check it out. It's pretty awesome. Hopefully you'll stop by and see us soon. What's my favorite cocktail? Jameson, it used to be. 100% Irish whiskey, but I don't drink anymore. Haven't drank in a while. But man, do I love me some Irish whiskey. Just saying it brings back some good memories. Don't go back and watch old live shows, by the way. 10 out of 10, don't recommend. We've come a long way here, folks. Grown up a lot. Yeah, we started doing live videos in, it was Memorial Day of I think it was 2016, yeah. And it was ugly. It was real ugly. And Facebook has this new feature where you can go to a page and you can skip right to any dates you want to. So if you want to skip back to Memorial Day 2016, you can share in my misery watching some old live videos. Actually, you only got like 4 days to do that because Facebook's about to start deleting old videos. They're only going to store live videos for 30 days. So
YouTube's going to do that as well.
Yeah, YouTube's going to do that as well. So basically, you've got like 4 days left if you want to go back in time and watch some of those old live videos. I shouldn't have said anything because we could have brought this up next week and they couldn't have looked back.
Let them enjoy now.
Yeah. Hopefully you guys have a great Father's Day. Thanks for tuning in and joining us. Remember, every Sunday night, 7:30 p.m., even Father's Day, we do the live stream show. So check us out next week, 7:30 p.m. Hopefully we'll see you June 24th at OCC Roadhouse. Don't forget, Saturday mornings, we've got our Real Animals radio show. Friday mornings, we've got our Fox 13 news segments. Don't forget to send us your photos if you catch fish locally, inshore, nearshore, offshore, on our boats, on your own boats, on a buddy's boat, on another party boat, from shore. It does not matter if you catch fish locally a day, 2, 3 days ago, text them to the phone number on the screen. We'll put you on the news every Friday. We'll use those photos on our Sunday night live stream shows as well. So make sure you text us your photos, your fishing reports. Stop by, say hello, join us on a trip, or come out and see us at OCC Roadhouse. And with that, let's do our Innovative Pools and Spa 39-hour fishing trip giveaway. Innovative Pools and Spa are 35 years of experience building pools in the Tampa Bay area. They're continuing the legacy of their father's company, which was recognized as a top pool builder for 3 decades. They are continuing to raise the bar in pool construction, design, and features. They have an unparalleled passion for the pool and spa industry. Call them today, 727-788-1650, or visit them online at innovativepoolsandspa.net for an estimate to see why Innovative Pools and Spa is a top choice for our local community. Hopefully we'll see you guys next week for another episode. Let's find out who won the 39-hour fishing trip for one. But before we do, Josh, when is the Supporters After Show? 8:45, the Supporters...
You need time.
No, I don't need time. I'm good. 8:45, Supporters After Show. Hopefully, we'll see you there. Remember, only $4.99 a month to join. So jump on over to the supporters group after this to join us for the live after show. All right, 39-hour trip for one lucky winner goes to... Denise, happy Sunday night. Congrats on the win. You got 5 minutes or less to text us your full home address, Denise. Y'all have a good night. Hopefully we'll see you next week for another episode. Definitely appreciate y'all being a part of our Hubbard's Marina family, guys. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next week for another episode. See ya.